Well, hello. Welcome to the Docs Trivia, the Aussie Pub Golf Trivia Night. I'm Brian Fitzgerald, the Golf Doctor, and I'm doing this to try and get some people interested in golf. We're stuck in Melbourne, or I'm stuck in Melbourne. Golf doesn't exist currently, and I thought I'd try and brighten people's days up. Let's think and talk about playing golf, and we'll have a bit of fun along the way with a trivia night. So if you're out there, let me know in the comments where you're from, because I'd love to know whereabouts you're viewing from and what you're up to. It could be just 2 or 3 people. It could be 20 people. I don't know. We'll find out as we go. So try and let me know where you're coming from. I'm not sure what you've been up to today, but I actually got to get out a little bit and get to Lang Lang, and it was nice to be able to get out. And the greens were sanded, but even though the greens were sanded, it was still a delight to be there. There's a familiar name, Peter Quattrocchi. Paper and pen handy, but nothing about golf trivia. Well, that's all right. Well, it was a bit of fun, and there is some guesswork involved, but yeah, I've tried to make it a bit, not too easy, but not all of the answers are on Google, and I'll get to the rules a little bit later. But it's funny how after a month or so, you tend not to remember everything. So I started filming some videos out at Lang Lang today in between lessons, and I just forgot to put a little cord attachment to the microphone in the camera. And unfortunately, it didn't record. So fortunately, I worked it out and I got some. Anthony Rudd, how are you, Anthony? It's been, it was about April last year. You came and spent the day with me with your wife. And not long after that, the whole world changed. And I think, if I remember rightly, you're over in the West. So welcome aboard. Ian West, drafted by Peter Q. Good on you, Pete. Corey, how are you, Corey? I hope you've been studying hard, Corey. And Mr. Lee, David Lee, from all the way from England. So how are you, David? No golf today. I know you played golf yesterday, so this should be a lot of fun. So did you study much today, Corey? Were you? I hope you did. Not so much for the schoolwork stuff, mate. It's just the study for this all-important trivia night. And there's Anthony. I'm fine. March last year it was, yeah, still in WA. Well, what a great place to be. I think I would love to be stuck in WA. I've got a few clients that are over there as part of my membership program, and they are loving it at the moment. Life is pretty normal. So good on you. We'll kick it off in a few minutes. I'll just give everyone a little bit more of a chance to get on. There'll be some latecomers. So what are you missing most about golf? That's probably a good place to start. There's a lot of things to miss. I know I was missing the sound of the golf club touching the ball. So all day I'm at the range and I'm always hearing thwack, thwack, thwack. And it's funny how however long it's been, you tend to miss the sound of club on ball. So, and I also miss the talking to people and the relationships. But YouTube Live, this format, I think is good. We can have some conversations. And I'm not sure if you've missed the other 2 YouTube Lives that I've been doing over the past few weeks. I did one with Pro Golf Gals, 2 of my friends from Sydney, Anne Rollo and Denise Hutton, and we had a good old chat about things that we can do at home to improve our golf. So that was a few weeks ago, and you can see the replay on the YouTube channel, and you can also catch up the one I did on Tuesday night with Peter Knight, one of Australia's premier golf coaches, and he's a good mate of mine and lives just down the road, in fact. And that was a good session. We went for an hour and a half, and at the end of it, Peter said, "Gee, that was only 40 minutes." And I said, "No, Pete, that was an hour and a half." So it was a really good session. So what are you missing most about golf? Pop it in the comments. I'd love to know what it is. So here we go. David Lee from England. I miss the smell of grass and earth when we were in lockdown. And that's true. And you were in lockdown for quite some time too over there. But life is going on almost as per normal from what I can gather. So when we get into the quiz, I basically have a few rules. So let me find my rules here. It is rule number 1, and this is the one that we've got to really stick to: is don't put everyone, give you less chance of. And there are some prizes. So my friends from Mizuno have come to the party, and we've got some nice little prizes to give away, which we will send in the post. So we want to try and keep it as friendly and as fun as we can. So we don't really want to put answers in the comments section. Rule number 2 is no looking up the answers on Google. And some of the answers are on Google, but a lot of the answers aren't on Google. I've made sure. It's amazing how hard it is to come up with a list of questions that you don't want people to find the answers on Google. So, but by the same token, I don't want it to be too difficult, and I don't want it to be a disincentive for people to not take part. So there's a bit of a balance in there. The third is not really a rule, but at the end of the night, we will. I'll ask what people's scores are, and at the end of every round, we'll have a little check in the chat box and see who the leaders are. And before I send out any prizes, I'm going to insist that you take a photo of your worksheet, and you can email it to me later with your details, and we can go from there. So that sounds fine. Does anyone have any questions on that at the moment? If you do, just put it in the comments box down below. Here's a comment here. So from Anthony: my course in Aruma, my mate's playing golf with the wife. Oh dear. Well, it's good to see that she's playing. So she was a bit lukewarm, but she's out there playing. So that's fantastic. And if you haven't been to the south coast of New South Wales, I thoroughly recommend playing. Aruma is a beautiful golf course. It's got one of the most spectacular par threes, which was nicknamed Hogan's Hole, and nothing to do with Ben Hogan. It was many years ago. They filmed an ad with Paul Hogan in a fishing boat. He teed off, put the ball in the water, and went and rescued it. And I think it was a cigarette ad, but we won't really say too much more about that. But it's a delightful course, and there's Catalina Country Club at Batemans Bay, which I've played a lot. My wife's grandparents lived there, and yeah, there's a great spot for golf. So thoroughly recommend a trip to the south coast, and I'm sure you're going to miss it, and hopefully you'll get back there in the not too distant future, Anthony. So if everyone has got their pens ready and paper ready, I think we might get going. So I've got 7 rounds. Each round has 5 questions, I think. There may be one that has 6, but I've forgotten already. And each round has a bit of a theme. So I'm calling the round 1 the warm-up round. So we're just going to feel our way and get used to it. So if you're all ready, we'll ask the first question. And the first question was, who was Peter Senior's major sponsor in his heyday? So we're talking mid-80s to late 80s, and he had a hat sponsor, and it was always on his hat. And back at that time, I was playing golf for a living, and I will never forget in the 1988, yes, it was the 88 Victorian Open at Kingston Heath, and I started par, birdie, birdie, and you wouldn't believe it, but a kid came up and said, "Oh, can I have your autograph?" So I thought, gee, this is pretty good. So I signed my name, and he got to the autograph book and he read it, and he said, "Oh, you're not Peter Senior." So he ripped it out. So I finished, I then went bogey. So that wasn't a great start, but a lot of people thought that I looked like Peter Senior, but I didn't have the same sponsor that he had. So that's the first question. The second question is, what is the name of Peter Senior's golf professional brother? So he did I think he's got two brothers, and one of them was a better golfer than Peter in his earlier life, and they both became golf pros, and this other brother was fairly successful playing pro-ams around Queensland. So then we get to the third question, and this might be a bit hard, but which long-hitting Australian golf pro from the 1970s had the nickname of Atlas? And if you think of Greg Norman's physique, and he's got the the triangular upper body, this guy had that in spades. And funnily enough, he was actually the golf pro at Catalina Golf Club, or Country Club at one stage, with his wife, Julie Bretherton. So they were the perfect couple, both golf pros. But yes, anyway, I've probably given away too much there. Question number 4. Which American golfer had the nickname of Thunder? This is going way, way back. And if you've watched some of my videos, I have referred to this gentleman in at least one of the videos, possibly two. Which American golfer had the nickname of Thunder? And then we get to question number 5 in this set. Which golf course is Australia's oldest? So which golf course is Australia's oldest? This is going to be tough on you, David Lee, because they're all very Aussie-centric questions, but you're sort of part Aussie. You have a relative that lives in Australia, and your football team is the Richmond Tigers, so I do know that. We've discussed that. Okay, so if everyone's ready, I'm going to start doing the answers. So the answer to question 1, who was Peter Senior's major sponsor in his heyday? It was Festo, Festo. I have no idea what they make, but for donkey's years. And if you look at any of the old footage, he had the Festo logo on his hat. So you get 1 point for every correct answer. I should have said that earlier. Question number 2, what is the name of Peter Senior's golf professional brother? It was Jeff Senior. Good player in his own right, won a lot of pro-ams in Queensland, or on the Troppo Tour, as we called it back then. Question number 3, which long-hitting Australian golf pro from the 1970s had the nickname of Atlas? It was George Bell, or Bally. Funny man. He's a guy that if you ever got stuck talking to him with a drink in your hand at the bar, you wouldn't get a word in and you just listened. He had so many good stories. But for the amazing thing, for a long hitter like he was, and he regularly used to drive the ball over 400 metres, and we're talking about old persimmon drivers and golf balls, the old Bellata ball, it was incredible how far he hit it. But his big fear was topping the ball, or the dome, as he called it. But lovely bloke. Which American golfer had the nickname of Thunder? That was Tommy Bolt. He had a very bad temper, and that's why he was nicknamed Thunderbolt. And one of my favourite stories is he was playing golf in a tournament, and he said to his caddy on the 16th hole, he said, how far we got? And the caddy said, 160. He said, what do you reckon? And the caddy said, oh, it's either a 3-iron or a sandwich. What do you mean 3-iron or sandwich? We've got 160. He said, that's all we've got left, sir. He was regularly snapping shafts, and lots of thunder stories, but we need a character like that. And the question number 5, which is Australia's oldest golf course, it's Ratho Farm in Tasmania, in Bothwell. Now, some people, if you had the answer of Bothwell, I will pay that, but Ratho Farm is the name. So the maximum amount of points you could have in that round was 5. So if you can just put your score in the comments section, and we can see who the leaders are at this point. Might be a good time to grab a drink as well. I'm not sure what time the footy starts, but Richmond's not playing, so don't really care. So how are you all going? What's the best score so far? maybe people are a bit shy and they don't want to put their scores in. If you can't put the scores in, if you're trying to do it, you've got to be logged in on YouTube as a with a YouTube account. So I know some people from the previous live streams weren't able to comment. That's what you have to do. Here we go, David Lee. So we'll flash these up. So David's 5 over par. Corey's 1. I wonder which one it was. Ian West. Hello, Ian. How are you? Do I get a point if I know what Festo does? Well, if I was a really nice bloke, I'd say yes. Actually, can you tell me, who? I think I'd like to know what Festo does. Can you give me that, and you can have a point for that for sure. We'll just wait for his answer. There's a little bit of a delay between the YouTube live and this. And I hope you're enjoying the format. This is all, I'm still new to it. I'm still playing around with all the different things that we can do. No, I haven't got an answer from Ian yet. He's probably typing, but we'll come back to it when he shows us. I'll put it up. And hello, is this a message from someone? No, it's not. It's someone else. Okay, so now we get to round 2. And I've called this our Aussie women's round because I think it's important that we do honour Australian women because we have some of the best women golfers in the world, and we've had a long history of it. We've been joined by Addie Hughes. Too late to the party, I'm afraid, so I missed the quiz. Okay, Addie bought my putting course, so thank you, Addie. I did notice that, and I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'll have an ad break and I'll promote the putting course later, but thank you. But it's never too late. I think even if you didn't get any points in that last round, Addie, you're only one behind, so don't worry about it. You can join in as you go. Okay, so round 2, our Aussie women's round. Who was the first Australian woman golfer to win a major championship? Who was the first Australian woman golfer to win a major championship? I won't tell you the year. And while we're doing this, a little bit of thinking, instead of putting thinking music, Ian West has got back to us. Festo pneumatic and electric drive technology. Very good. So it's amazing how they spent so much money in sponsorship and no one really knows what Festo does, except if you're obviously using it. Thank you very much for that, Ian. You get a point. So very good. I am open to bribery. So we get to question 2. Where did Kari Webb play her junior golf? So we are talking Queensland. She is a Queenslander. And that's where she played all of her junior golf. Great story too. Really good Aussie. And Peter Thompson actually said that she was Australia's best ever golfer. And it's pretty hard to argue against that. Question number 3. How many major championships has Kari Webb won? How many major championships has Kari Webb won? And this might help in understanding why Peter Thompson said that Kari was the best golfer Australia ever produced. And then we get to question number 4. How many Australian Women's Opens have been held in Victoria? So we have a multiple choice here. I'm taking a bit of pity on you all because these are quite difficult. So the A is 5. So how many Australian Women's Opens have been played in Victoria? A, 5, B, 10, C, 13, and D, 16. So I'll say that again. A was 5, B was 10, C was 13, D was 16. And then we get to the final question of our women's round. Who was the last Australian woman to win a major championship? Who was the last Australian woman to win a major championship? Okay, and that was relatively recent too. So we'll get to the answers to this round. So question number 1, who was the first Australian women's golfer to win a major championship? Once again, you get 1 point for every answer that you get right. It was Jan Stevenson, and that was back in 1981, and she won the Du Maurier Classic. And the Du Maurier Classic is no longer an event, so it's no longer a major. It's funny how the men's majors stay the same every single year and hasn't changed, and the women's chop and change a little bit. But Jan Steven, really good golfer. She won the first Aussie to win a major. Question number 2, where did Kari Webb play her junior golf? She played her junior golf at Ayr in Queensland, AYR, up in northern Queensland. I have played at Ayr. When I was playing on the Troppo Tour, as it was known, the Queensland Winter Tour, that was one of the stopovers. So it was a nice course, nice country course. That's where she played. So you get a point for that answer. How many majors did she win? She won 7. So clearly you could mount a case that she was Australia's best ever golfer. And that's what Peter Thompson believed. Question number 4, how many Australian Women's Opens have been held in Victoria? So you had the correct answer was D, 16. So we've had a lot of tournaments. Just to give a bit of relevance, New South Wales have had 6, South Australia have had 5, and the ACT had 1, which was at Royal Canberra. So you get a point for that answer, D, 16. And the last question in that round was, who was the last Australian to win a major championship? It was Minjee Lee recently at the Evian Championship. So there's a score of possible 5. So if you can put your scores, don't be embarrassed. You never know, though. I might be really nice, and I might give the Naga Award, as it's called. If anyone doesn't know what Naga is, I probably I shouldn't say it on YouTube Live, but it means that you've come last. It's not a golfer's something, yes. So let's see some scores in the comments section, and I'm going to have a little drink while we do that. So let's go through these. Welcome aboard, Core. I didn't know you'd popped in there, so you haven't missed much if you missed the first round. You've had 1. Then we've got Corey. So Corey got a big 0. You're not far behind. Anthony Rudd, score of 2, Anthony. That was fantastic. And I hit the wrong button there. Peter Quattrocchi, score of 3. Very impressive. You've obviously watched the women's golf. In fact, I remember seeing your wife at one of the Australian Women's Opens at Yarra many years ago. And say hello to her for me. David Lee, Mr. Consistency, 10 over par. Geez, I even gave you a chance to have a 25% chance at a guess there, Dave. Addie Hughes, 0. Well, that's a fairly consistent score. Ian West, 0. But my wife knew about Minjee Lee. Well, that counts. You can have a team. It doesn't have to be an individual. You're allowed to have a brains trust. You just can't phone a friend. So give yourself a point there. So you're actually on 2 if I did that right. So yes, you do get your wife's score. Well done. Okay. So I better scroll up my little list of questions here. So if you've been paying attention to my videos over the last 7.5 years, I reckon most of these answers will have appeared. So you're a chance here, David, because you've watched a lot of my videos. So this is called Docs Round. So this is a round sort of about me. Hey, it's my quiz. Why not? I can talk about me. So question number 1. Which course hosted the 1991 Tasmanian PGA Championship? Which course hosted the 1991 Tasmanian PGA Championship? So I'm going to give you a chance. We've got some multiple choice questions. So it's A, Royal Hobart, B, Tasmania Golf Club, C, Ulverston Golf Club, and D, Launceston Golf Club. So I'll read those out again. A, Royal Hobart, B, Tasmania Golf Club, C, Ulverston Golf Club, and D, Launceston Golf Club. And of course, the significance of the 1991 Tasmanian PGA Championship is I won. So, yeah, great event. Hey, I'm better than Norman. Norman never, ever won a Tasmanian PGA Championship. Don't think he ever played in one, but that's irrelevant. I won it. Okay, question number 2. Which golf course did I not work at as a trainee golf professional? So, which course did I not work at as a trainee golf professional? Here's some multiple choice answers. We have A, Royal Melbourne, B, Werribee Park, C, Victoria Golf Club, and D, Kingston Heath Golf Club, and E, Huntingdale Golf Club. So I'll say those again. A, Royal Melbourne Golf Club, B, Werribee Park Golf Club, C, Victoria Golf Club, D, Kingston Heath Golf Club, and E, Huntingdale Golf Club. Question number 3, who was my golf coach? So I'll give you 3 choices. There was A, Brian Twite, B, Alex Mercer, or C, Jack Harris. So A, Brian Twite, B, Alex Mercer, C, Jack Harris. Then we get to question number 4. Which golf club was I not a member of as a junior? So when I played my junior golf. A, Commonwealth Golf Club, B, Northern Golf Club, C, Gisborne Golf Club, and D, Goonawarra Golf Club. In fact, the video I did recently clearly tells you the answer to this one. It was a bit of a diatribe where I was sitting on the card at Lang Lang talking about my history of how I became a YouTube golf coach. So, yes. And then we get to question number 5. Which Melbourne Golf Club was I the head professional at? I'm not going to list it. I won't give you choices, but I have mentioned this before too. So I haven't checked. I haven't Googled myself, so it could be on Google. I don't know, but there it is. Which Melbourne Golf Club was I the head professional at? So we'll go through the answers now. Hopefully you're all ready. David Lee, lulling you into a false sense of security. Core, you said repeat. Which answer would you like me to repeat before I give the answers, or which question? Just let me know. I'll just wait for him to type a response in. Hope you're having a good time. It's a lot of fun. Question number 4, he said. Okay, which club was I not a member of? A, Commonwealth Golf Club, B, Northern Golf Club, C, Gisborne Golf Club, D, Goonawarra Golf Club. And Peter Quattrocchi said the same thing. So hopefully you got those answers, and I'll go back to question 1. So which course hosted the 1991 Tasmanian PGA Championship? It was at the Ulverston Golf Club, just out of Devonport. Beautiful golf course. It's a really underrated golf course, and I'm not saying that because I won there. In fact, when I think about it, I'm actually undefeated. I think I've played 3 Pro-Ams and a Tasmanian PGA Championship, and I won every time I played there. So I'm never playing again because it can only go backwards. But very, very nice. If you get to Tassie, make sure you look at Ulverston Golf Club. Question number 2. Which golf course did I not work at as a trainee? Well, I did work for a short time at Royal Melbourne Golf Club. I did work for a time at Werribee Park Golf Club. And I did start my apprenticeship at Victoria Golf Club. And I finished my apprenticeship at Kingston Heath Golf Club. So the club that I didn't work at was Huntingdale. Two of my best friends, my closest mate, and don't think he's here, but he was a trainee at Huntingdale, and my brother-in-law was a trainee at Huntingdale too. So I played at Huntingdale a lot, but I didn't work there. Question number 3, who was my golf coach? It was Alex Mercer. Taught me absolutely everything I know, and I'm always grateful. Wonderful man. And I did hear he's not traveling that well, and I hope he does get better. But yeah, wonderful man. He's also David Graham's coach as well. Steve Elkington, he coached a lot. In fact, Gary Player at some stage said he was the best coach in the world. Then we get to question number 4. Which club was I not a member of? Well, I was a member of Gisborne Golf Club. That was my first club, and that's where I grew up and played all of my golf at Gisborne. I then got poached to play pennant for Northern Golf Club, just in the northern suburbs of Melbourne. And in my last year of school, I joined the Goonawarra Golf Club, which had just opened, and it was only 5 minutes from home. So Mum had picked me up, dropped me off at Goonawarra, and Dad picked me up when he came through later on. So yes, so the one that I wasn't a member of was Commonwealth Golf Club, but it's a very nice course and very underrated. Then we get to question number 5. Which golf course was I the head professional at? I'm sure Corey knows this one. It was the Yarra Yarra Golf Club. So I was there for a time. So 1 point for every question that you got right there. Well, I've got to be careful there. It's 1 point for Ulverston, 1 point for Huntingdale, 1 point for Alex Mercer, 1 point for Commonwealth, and 1 point for Yarra Yarra. So tally up your score. See if you can tell me what total you're at, and post them in the comments if you can. That would be really good to see how everyone's traveling. And let me see, where are we over here? So good. Hopefully you're having a really good time. I'm having fun doing this. So we'll get into the comments. We've got Ian West, 2 point. One was from my wife, the whiffer. MVP. So well done, Mrs. West. You're a very important member of the team there. And Anthony Rudd got 2. Very well done. Corey, where are you? Addy played the shot I knew I could hit, walking off with a 1. Very good. And I knew I saw Corey in there somewhere. So Corey got a 1. I love you quoting me back there, Addy. Cor, tough questions. I'm a tough coach, Cor. You can't make it too easy. And Peter Quattrocchi got 1 and annoyed as I watched your live story this week. It's about retention. So go back and watch it again. So that's okay. It's hard to do it. And David Lee, what's David said here? Beats going to the tip. Well, yeah, I would agree with that. Just so well done. Thank you for watching. All right, so we're now ready for round number 4, and this is a tough round. I've called it Coach's Corner. So this one's about coaches. So question number one. Oh, hang on, here we go. If only we could talk back. Yeah, there's a good reason I'm doing it on this and not on Zoom call. Core just said, I'll put his little comment up. If only we could talk back. Yeah, no, not going to happen on this one. So far, 3+, 1 fluke, and a total of 4. Good. So can anyone beat 4? Or I think there's a couple of 4s in there, so we might have a tie. So far, 3. Okay, yeah. I reckon we're at 4s leading the tournament at the moment. Okay, so we'll get into Coach's Corner. Hello, Core's got 6. Well done, Core. He's out in front. So we'll see how this goes. Question number 1 from Coach's Corner. Who was Ben Hogan's golf coach? That is a hard one because everyone thinks Ben Hogan coached himself because he wrote all those books on how he played golf. But there was one man that he did get influenced by. Who was Ben Hogan's golf coach? Question number 2. Who was Payne Stewart's putting coach? So Payne Stewart was a great golfer, and he was going through a little bit of a slump, and he went to a tournament, I think it was at Pebble Beach actually, and he tried this new prototype putter called the Seymour putter, and his coach put it in front of him, who was involved with the Seymour Putter Company, and he went on to win the US Open, and he had one of the best putting rounds, probably the finest putting round ever in the final of a major championship, and he went on to win. Unfortunately, no longer with us. So we get to question number 3. Name the coach of Tom Kite and Ben Crenshaw. And if you were watching the session I had with Peter Knight the other night, this man was featured in that. Peter mentioned it. So 2 totally different golfers, Tom Kite and Ben Crenshaw. Different personalities, totally different looking swings, but they had the same coach. That's the hallmark of a good coach, that not everyone looks the same. Then we get to question number 4. Who changed David Graham, one of Australia's best golfers, from being a left-handed golfer to a right-handed golfer? So who changed David Graham from a left-handed golfer to a right-handed golfer? It was his boss, and it was at the course he was doing his apprenticeship in Melbourne. There's a clue. Final question of this round. Who was Steve Elkington's 2 main coaches? Now, a few minutes ago, I told you one of them. So if you were listening intently, you will have one answer, definitely. But he had another one. Who was Steve Elkington's 2 main golf coaches? Okay, I think we've probably given you enough time on that one. So we'll get to the answer to question 1. Who was Ben Hogan's golf coach? It was Henry Pickard. Not that well known, but he did have an influence on Sam Snead as well. So he was well before his time, apparently a very good golf coach. So Henry Pickard. Who was Payne Stewart's putting coach? P.O.B. is the guy's nickname. His name's Pat O'Brien. And he features regularly on a Seymour Putter podcast called The Putting Couch. Not The Putting Coach, The Putting Couch. I listen to it regularly, and he's always full of really good information. Pat O'Brien. Question number 3. Name the coach of Tom Kite and Ben Crenshaw. It was Harvey Pennick, who also wrote the Little Red Book and the Little Green Book. Legendary coach. Kept it really simple. I loved all those books on how simple golf can be. Not that golf is always simple, but the coaching should be simple. And I could say that I've been influenced by Mr. Pennick over the years. Never met him. Who changed David Graham from a left-handed golfer to a right-handed golfer? That was the head professional at the Riversdale Golf Club, which was George Naismith. So George Naismith was his name. I think he made a right decision. He went on to win some good tournaments. I won't say any more. Might be another question coming up a bit later. And the final question of that round was, who was Steve Elkington's two main golf coaches? If you were listening a few minutes ago, you would have heard me say Alex Mercer was the coach of David Graham and Steve Elkington and myself and many, many others. But that was one. And Jack Burke Jr. was the other one. So he's an American guy. Won a Masters, I think, I think he won a Masters. If he didn't win a Masters, he won a PGA, but he's certainly institution over there. So that round is worth 6 points. There are six answers. So one for each one, and there were two answers in the last question. So tally up your scores, pop them in the comments, and let's see how we're all traveling. And we've got, 3 rounds to go. So I won't put you through too much more misery. So core, I think that you have no updates yet. Corey got 1. Geez, I've made this too hard, obviously. Let me see. So Corey's got 1. Ian West. Nada, the wife let me down. Oh, no, come on. That's harsh. She's outperforming you at the moment, Ian. David Lee, just the 1. Well, you did well. I wonder which one. Peter, -6. Yeah, I probably did make that a little bit hard. Addie, you are turning into the most consistent of the lot. You're just sitting there beautifully on 0. Core, 1 from 7. Okay, I obviously made that one a little bit too hard. Anthony Rudd's on fire. He's on 5. Total of 5. Okay. Good. So it's time that I had another sip of drink. And we will get into the next round. Harvey, love his books. They're just little tiny ones, and you don't have to read it from front to back. It's the sort of book you can just pick open and just read a sentence or two here and then put it back. Lovely book, but just a very simple outlook. It's the way golf really should be, I think. Okay, now we've got the golf course round. Now, David Lee, you could have an advantage over all of us here with one of the questions. I may have said too much already. Okay. Ready. 1 point for every correct answer. So, how many holes wide is the old course at St Andrews? So, on the plot of land that it sits on, how many holes wide is it? Now, I've never played it, and I only found the answer to this question last year when a mate of mine told me. I was on a Zoom session with him, and he was showing me, and it was fascinating. So, how many holes wide is the old course at St Andrews? I do hope to get there once this whole crazy business finishes. So, I'm definitely on my way over there. Question number 2. Which Australian golf course did Jack Nicklaus redesign in the early 70s? And then it became the host of a number of Australian Opens, all paid for by Kerry Packer, Channel 9. There's a good story about that, but I'll tell you later when we read the answers out. Which Australian golf course did Jack Nicklaus redesign in the early 70s? Question number 3. No one's going to get this. I'm cruel for even putting it in there, but there's a payoff for it. What was the name of the recently discovered lost golf course in regional New South Wales? It's near Bombala in New South Wales on the south coast. Ooh, I was just thinking, maybe Anthony does know this answer. It's in your backyard, Anthony. What was the name of the recently discovered lost golf course in regional New South Wales? And who commissioned it? That's the second part of the question. How did it come to be built? Who was the man that made sure it was built? He didn't design it, he didn't build it, but he paid for it. And that's all in a podcast, which I'll tell you about when I read out the answer. Question number 4. Who designed, and there are 3 courses here, and there are 3 answers, so you get a point for each answer. So who designed Barnbougle Dunes down in Tasmania? Who designed Lost Farm, which is the second course that was down there? And recently they opened up a new 12-hole short course called Boogle Run. So who designed each of those courses? So Barnbougle Dunes, Lost Farm, and Boogle Run. Don't want to give you too much time to look it up. Question number 5. Name the 2 world-class golf courses that are on King Island. There are 3 courses on King Island. 2 of them are world-class, and there's nothing wrong with your third one either. But what are the names of the 2 world-class ones? And I was down there in February, and on Monday week, I was supposed to be taking my first tour group down there, which has now been postponed. So we put it back to November. So unfortunately, I won't get to go back for a couple more months, but fingers crossed, hopefully we can. Okay, we get back to the answers. How many holes wide is the old course at St Andrews? It's actually 2 holes wide. So if you have ever played at Oakley Golf Club in Melbourne, it has something in common with St Andrews. It's 2 fairways wide or 2 holes wide. There's a sort of a water channel running down the middle of the course, and there's 1 hole that side, and you play 4, and then you cross over and you play 5 back, or might be the other way around. So it's 2 holes wide. That fascinated me. I didn't know that until I saw the photo when I was talking to my friend. Question number 2. Which Australian golf course did Jack Nicklaus redesign in the early 1970s? Paid for by Kerry Packer? The answer was in the question. The Australian Golf Club. So yes, which Australian course? It was the Australian Golf Course, which is in Kensington. And Kerry Packer paid for it. And a few years later, after they lost the Australian Open, Kerry Packer decided he was going to have a game of golf, and turned up at the Australian and went to tee off the first. And the manager came running out and said, "Oh, Mr. Packer, sorry, you can't tee off today." "Oh, why's that? We've got a corporate day." And Kerry Packer said, "How much money do we make from corporate days?" So the manager told him the figure. He said, "Just hang on a minute." He got a check, wrote out a check for the same amount, gave it to him and said, "I don't think I'll have any problem playing here again in the future, do you?" No more corporate days at the Australian while Kerry Packer was alive. So it's a good story. Lots of good Kerry Packer stories, but I won't go on with that here. Question number 3. This was featured in a podcast. So if you're all bored and you're running out of things to do, I can totally recommend the Talking Golf podcast. There's Talking Golf, there's the Thing About Golf, and there's the Good podcast. They're all from the same guy, Rod Morrie in Sydney, one of Australia's premier golf journalists. This isn't paid promotion. He doesn't even know I'm talking about it. But I listened to all of those podcasts, and there was this feature of this lost golf course, Kamarooka. And I've put a link in the description of this video so you can click on it and find it. It's just a captivating story. And it was the Tooth family who set up the Tooth's Brewery in New South Wales. And he commissioned it. So it's a really compelling story. I won't try and give you a précis. I won't do it justice, but it's a great story. Kamarooka Golf Course near Bombala. And we then get to question number 4. Who designed Barnbougle Dunes? Well, the answer to that one was Tom Doak. Who designed Lost Farm? It was the company of Corr and Crenshaw, Bill Corr and Ben Crenshaw. And who designed Boogle Run? That was Bill Corr of Corr and Crenshaw, but it wasn't the company Corr and Crenshaw. It was he himself, Bill Corr. So they're the 3 points that are on offer for that one. And then we get to question number 5. Name 2 world-class golf courses that are on King Island. one is Ocean Dunes, and one is Cape Wickham. So, as I said, I was supposed to be there Monday week. I've got to wait until the end of November, but I've got another one coming up in March, but I'll advertise that one later. It's absolutely spectacular, those courses. Barnboogle's fantastic, and you get to play these courses, and it's unusual if you play a links course and you can see 2 or 3 different holes right adjacent to the water. It's pretty special. At Cape Wickham, from every single tee, you see water crashing on rocks. It's just, the scenery gets in the way of the golf course, and the golf course is special. So find your way down there if you can. Okay, let's tally up the scores, and we'll see how everyone's going before we hit Amen Corner, or Amen Corner, the Masters reference. So what scores is everyone on? I must have made that a bit too hard. Either that or everyone's dropped off and they've lost interest and they're going to watch the footy. No one, am I making it that bad that everyone's going 0? Here we go. Just 1. You're doing okay. Yeah, I was going to say nod your head if you get it. Was it the St Andrews one, David? Addy, Mr. Consistency? Not quite. You're very consistent. Peter, bad to worse, nothing to report. Well, obviously, I'm making this way too tough. And for those of you that are interested in football, thank you, Core. Core's given us the footy scores. Melbourne 39, Geelong 18. Yeah. And Anthony is on a total of 6 there. Very good. And Core's on a score of 9. So we're looking good. So what I thought I would do, if you are in lockdown and you're running out of things to do, I have designed a putting course for you to do. So during our 5th lockdown, we're currently in lockdown number 6, I decided that after about 5 minutes of putting, most people get bored using a putting mat. And this is my kitchen, and I designed and built the whole thing in my kitchen. So I figured if I can teach people how to putt using a putting mat in my kitchen, there's no excuse for people not to practice. And the hardest thing is knowing what to practice. So my putting course has over 50 videos. It has an in-depth putter fitting guide, and it teaches you a little bit about green reading, and we've got drills for different parts. So we've got drills for setup, drills for speed control, drills for starting the ball online. And of course, me being me, here I am over here on the right holding a wine bottle, part of my putter fitting. So everyone can benefit, and it goes into great detail. So this is just on my website, so you can go to thegolfdoctor.com.au and find out. It's a sum total of $99 to purchase it. And Addy's here, and this is unprompted because I haven't really has spoken to Addy since he did it. But what did you think of it? What do you think so far? You wouldn't have had time to go through it totally, Addy, but I would love to know what you thought. We'll get a live. It could be terrible, so if it's terrible, tell me. I want to know. We'll catch up on some of these things here. David said, "I know more about Australia than Scotland." Spoken like a true Englishman. Anthony, I've just realised the AFL is being played in Perth, and I'm playing trivia with Brian. I'm honoured, Anthony. Yeah. Are you? Oh, here comes my cup of tea. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, yes. Who's your team, Anthony? Are you into the AFL, or are you into something else? In fact, I think tonight's the first night of the New South, or the ARL as it's called. So, no, David thinks it's a bargain. You are one of my true fans. Addy might have gone home. Might not want to say anything about the putting. Maybe it's not that good. Anyway, if you're interested, it's $99 for the putting, and you can go online and have a look at it at www. Actually, I should use my little thing that I've made here. Here we go, down the bottom here somewhere. That's my website address, so you can find it on there pretty easily. But it's okay if you don't. I won't think badly of you. All right, let's get back into the quiz. So we get to what I've called Amen Corner. And once again, 1 point for every question. So I mentioned Payne Stewart before. Who was Payne Stewart's brother-in-law? He was a golf professional, an Aussie golf professional, and a ripping bloke. I've had a couple of beers with him over the years. Really nice guy. Well, Payne married his sister. So who was Payne Stewart's brother-in-law? Then we get to question 2. Who was the first Australian to win the US PGA Championship? Who was the first Australian to win the US PGA Championship? I don't want to give you too much time for you to cheat and look it up on Google. It's probably there. This one's going to be the next one's going to be a bit sort of tough, but you could probably guess. Okay. All of these people in question 3 have won multiple Australian Opens, and you've got to rank them in order of who won the most. So we have Greg Norman, Peter Thompson, Gary Player, and Jack Nicklaus. So we have to rank them in the order of who won the most Australian Opens. So we start at the top and then we work our way down. So rank them in order as to who won the most, and then the second most, then the third, then the fourth. So it's Greg Norman, Peter Thompson, Gary Player, and Jack Nicklaus. Hopefully, Corey, you've heard of all of those players, if you're still with us, or maybe you've gone to bed. Okay, question number 4 was, or is, what event was the composite course at Royal Melbourne used for the first time? So Royal Melbourne has 2 courses, the East Course and the West Course. The West Course was there first, and the East Course was there. So I think with the West Course, it's situated on 2 separate paddocks, and you've got to cross the road at some point to play. And the East Course is on 3 separate paddocks, so you've got to cross roads twice to play and then come back again. So when they were contemplating holding this particular event, they thought, well, wouldn't it be good if the galleries didn't have to cross the road and we could keep them all on the same site? And the composite course was designed. There were 12 holes from the east, and there were 12 holes from the west, 6 holes from the east, and that forms the composite. Still in use today, but they've changed the order of what it is. So which event was the first event they used the composite course? And here's a good one. Question number 5. Who was the lead singer of Jake Trout and the Flounders? So this is a group of golf professionals, PGA Tour players, and they formed a band, Jake Trout and the Flounders. They were big in the 80s. They had a song called Sittin' on the Back of the Range, Trying to Swing Like Curtis Strange, which was my personal favourite. I had a band. I used to busk, and people used to pay me to stop. So I was pretty bad, but my band was called Fat Wedge and the Divots. So Jake Trout and the Flounders definitely sold more records than I did. I never made one. I was pretty bad, but I thought I was good, but I wasn't. Okay, so we get back into the start, and actually, before we do, we've got some stuff here. So, David Lee thinks my course is a bargain. Thank you. I forgot you've actually got it too. You purchased as well. Very good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Anthony, Collingwood. I didn't realise you're a Collingwood supporter, but you must be one of those few good ones. There's only two varieties there. Yeah, you don't want to go down that path, but I'll make an exception. You're a good bloke. I'll spend a good day with you. Core. NRL. So who's your NRL? Did I say ARL? You're correcting me. Yeah, very good. Okay, Addie's put something up here. I'm a bit nervous. About £52 for UK colleagues. Very informative, though only got as far as ball positioning. Okay, after checking the putter fitting, drinking my bottle of wine, agree with David, it's a bargain. Thank you very much, Addie, and I'll be really interested to hear what you think when you finish the course, because I do want to, and I'll be making changes as we go. So whenever I think of new drills, I'll add it to it. So I'm glad you're enjoying it so far. David's not impressed with the questions, so I have made it a bit tough. All right, let's get back to these answers. So question number 1, who was Payne Stewart's brother-in-law? We all knew him as Fergie. Mike Ferguson, Queenslander. Good player in his own right, won a South Australian PGA. He was always sort of in the top 20 of most of the major tournaments in the country. Never got to win the big ones, but he was a ripping bloke. The first Australian to win the US PGA Championship was Jim Ferrier. So very, very underrated golfer. Long time ago, but he was a superstar. He was also a trick shot artist, so he was good with that too. In fact, there was another one that was a trick shot artist, Joe Kirkwood, as well. But Jim Ferrier was a terrific player. Now we get to rank from most to least. So the person with the most Australian Open wins was Gary Player. He won 7. Jack Nicklaus won 6. Greg Norman won 5. And Peter Thompson won 3. So if you got them in that order, Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, Greg Norman, and Peter Thompson, you got 4. So give yourself a point for every one of those that you got right if you got it in the right order. So then we get to what was the event? The composite course at Royal Melbourne was used for the first time. It was the 1959 Canada Cup. No longer played. It's now called the World Cup. So Canada Cup was the World Cup. I will accept that answer. We get to question number 5. Who was the lead singer of Jake Trout and the Flounders? And I was going to load up a YouTube video of them to show you, but if I did that, I would be demonetized because I don't own the rights to that YouTube. So I can't put YouTube on a YouTube video of mine. So I just recommend type in Jake Trout and the Flounders. So Peter Jacobson was the lead singer. And we also had a guy called Mark Lai, who was on guitar and backing vocals. Payne Stewart also played the harmonica and backing vocals as well. So, so Jake Trout and the Flounders, they did all right. They had I think it was a CBS record deal. So they did okay. All right, so let's collate the scores and see where we're at before we commence the last round. So we haven't had too many drop off, so that's good. I hope you're having fun and you are trying to get through a nice Friday night. Hopefully you've got a glass of something. I'm trying to keep myself nice, so I'm just having tea. Thank you to my wife for bringing it in. Okay, so core. Oh, crashed and burned, Anthony. I'm sorry to hear that. Core is on. It got 0 from 9. David Lee, 5 attempts, all air shots, result 0 points. Corey's on 0. Addie, you've broken the duck. Good on you. You've got one. Ian West, 5 in total. Peter got 1. So if you can, before we start the last round, I want to just type your total amount of points in there, and I want to see who is the leader in the clubhouse going into the final round. And this is looking like my Stableford score. Yeah, could be worse. Par's a very unforgiving game. At least with Stableford, you can have a double bogey, you get 1 point. So Peter, there we go. So we've got Core on 9. Peter is on 5. Anthony's on 6. Corey's on 3. Addie's on 2. You've done well, Addie. You've got off that duck. Well done. Okay, so it's all up for play. Now, if we do have a tie, I do have a tiebreaker question. So I've thought of it. So hopefully we do okay there. So the final round was I can't even say it. Schenectady. Schenectady. It's a Scottish word. What was the Schenectady? So I'm giving you some options. Was it A, the first centre shafted putter? Was it B, the first chipper? Was it C, the first wedge? Or was it D, the first driver? So I'll say it again. What was a Schenectady? I won't tell you how to spell it. It's pretty phonetic. A, the first centre shafted putter. B, the first chipper. C, the first wedge. And D, the first driver. Now, back in 1982, when I was a first-year trainee, in about September, about this time of year, I had to sit my club construction theory exam. And part of that exam was I had to memorise the standard lofts and the standard lies. And I've forgotten all about the lies, but I still remember distinctly the standard lofts of golf club. So back in 1982, what was the standard loft of a 3-iron? So what was the standard loft of a 3-iron? Then we get to question number 3. How many Australian males have won a major championship? So there are 4 possibles. So I'll give you a chance to guess. So the majors, of course, being the US Masters, US Open, British Open, US PGA. How many Australian males have won them? So some of these players have won multiple events, but we're not counting how many events they've won. We're just saying how many individual Australian males have won a major. So the options are A, 6, B, 9, C, 11, D, 13. So we'll say that again. A6, B9, C11, and D13. And I've just upset David. Bloody Scotland again. I think that might have been from the first answer, the first question of this round. Yeah, I do that to you, David. Okay, so 6, 9, 11, or 13. Question number 4. How many Australians have been captain of the Royal and Ancient Golf Club, which is located in St Andrews, Scotland? David, I'm doing it to you again. How many Australians have been captain of the Royal and Ancient Golf Club? The answers are A, 1, B, 2, C, 3, and D, 4. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. How many Australians have been captain of the R&A? Hopefully you're still talking to me, David. And the final question was, who named Greg Norman the Great White Shark? So who was the person responsible for giving Greg Norman the moniker the Great White Shark? And I'll bet he didn't get any percentage. And you think about how much money Greg Norman's made using the Great White Shark logo. This guy could have really hit pay dirt. So that's probably a difficult one for you, David. Okay, so we're going to get into the final countdown now. So we go back to question 1. What was the Schenectady? It was actually the first centre-shafted putter. So I've got it in a book. I can't reach up and get it, but I've got a big book of old history of golf clubs, and it was featured in that. I couldn't find it on the internet, but that's what it was. The first centre-shafted putter. Question number 2. What was the standard loft of a 3-iron back in 1982? The correct answer is 24 degrees. So what do you think the standard loft of a 6-iron is now? So if you think back in 1982, a 24-degree club was called a 3-iron. What club is a 24-degree club now? It's actually a 6-iron. So what I used to call the 3-iron is now a 6-iron. So things have gone quite strange in the loft department. So they don't just change lofts. They don't just loft it down. They change the design principles, and they do all sorts of things to help get the ball in the air. But it's one of those reasons why there's so many wedges now. Because if a 6-iron was a 3-iron back when I played, it's just crazy. It has to suffer somewhere. So now we have gap wedges and lob wedges and sand wedges and pitching wedges. In fact, there's another one. I did a fit recently for a guy who I actually had 5 wedges down, and it wasn't my choice. It was just what Callaway offered. 5 wedges. Very confusing. Anyway, I'm off topic. The answer to how many Australian males have won a major championship, the answer was 11. So it was C11. And those Australian males are Jim Ferrier, Kel Nagle, Wayne Grady, who won a PGA championship. Kel Nagle won the British Open in 1960. We have Ian Baker Finch, who won a British Open in 1991. Steve Elkington won a US PGA in 1995. Jeff Ogilvy won a US Open in 2006. Adam Scott won the Masters in 2016. Jason Day won the US PGA in 2015. David Graham won the US PGA in 79 and the US Open in 1981. And Greg Norman won the British Open in 86 and 93. And Peter Thompson won 5 British Opens in 54, 55, 56, 58, and 65. So that comes to a total of 9 different players. So, 11. I should say not 9. I said 9. I meant 11. 11 was the right answer. How many Australians have been captain of the R&A? The answer was B, 2. The first was Viscount Stanley Bruce. He was also captain of Royal Melbourne, and he was also Prime Minister. And he had the distinction of being the first Prime Minister to lose his seat at a general election while Prime Minister. That's since been equalled by John Howard. But he was also captain of the Royal and Ancient. So that was back in 54, 55. And in 2013 and 2014, we had Sandy Dawson. So they're the 2 Aussies that have been captain. And the man that coined the nickname Greg Norman, the Great White Shark, this guy also gave called Jack Nicklaus the Golden Bear. So you think of how much money and royalties he could have really had over the years. He's no longer with us. He was a writer for the Age newspaper in Melbourne, and he was a member of Victoria Golf Club. He was there when I was a trainee at Victoria. His name was Don Lawrence. So the correct answer was Don Lawrence. Lovely bloke, knockabout bloke. But imagine giving those two nicknames, the Great White Shark and the Golden Bear, and how much money those guys have made. And I don't think they've even given him a cent. They probably didn't even buy him a beer. And he didn't mind one of those drinks either. Here we go. We've got another one from Scotland. Now, play nicely, David. James is a very passionate golfer from Scotland, and we communicate regularly. So welcome. We're sort of at the end of the night. So if you can tally up your scores, and don't worry about how many you got in that round. I want to see who's got the most. And write your scores down. I want to see, because I have some prizes to give away. And if you don't give me your scores, I can't really give you any prizes. So I'll give you a second. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. I probably did make it a little bit hard. So Core is on 10. Team West is on 7. Anthony Rudd is on 7. That's not a bad score. Corey and David are both on 4. And Addie's on 2. The multiple choice ones. So by the look of it, we don't need the playoff question, but I've gone to the hard work. I'm going to do it anyway. See if anyone knows it. You can add it to your score because I don't think it'll make much difference. So back in 1981, the Australian Open was played at Victoria Golf Club, and it finished on the Sunday, and I started work at Victoria as a trainee the very next day on the Monday. And the winner of the tournament was Bill Rogers. And I was going to do a nearest the pin for this one, so that's why I knew we could get a winner. And the nearest the pin was what was the winning score? So don't worry, I won't ask you what it was. I'll tell you. It was 282, which was 6 under par. So we would have had a guess at what the winning score was, and there would have been a winner, whoever finished nearest. Now, the interesting thing is Greg Norman lost the tournament by a shot, and the last hole at Victoria is a par 5, and it was playing slightly downwind on the last round. Greg Norman had a 9-iron into the green for his second shot, and he walked off with 5. He hit it slightly fat, put it in the front bunker, and at that stage he wasn't as good as bunkers as what he finished up being. He was one of the world's best bunker players. But at that stage, it wasn't great. Anyway, he splashed it out to about 15 feet, 2-putted, 5. If he had made 4, he would have been in a playoff, and who knows. So just a bit of useless trivia. I'm full of that stuff. So what I need, and I better get the right little banner up, is, I need you to send me a photo of your score sheet to prove. And I need your address, but I'm pretty, who knows when I'm going to see you again, Cor. It could be weeks. I'm not quite sure. But my email address is there. So if I could get Core, Team West, and Anthony Rudd to send me their a photo via email. You can do that in the next day or so. And just pop your address of where I can get Mizuno to send your package through to you, which should be coming through fairly soon. And we also, I think that will sort of see us out of prizes there. So anyway, that's the end of the trivia quiz. So thank you very much for joining. But it's not necessarily over. I'm happy to stay here for a few more minutes and just chat talk about any questions you have, anything you want to do. I'm open for any questions you like. So if you've got any questions, put them in the comments. Any topic you want to chat about, we've got a few minutes. I'm not rushing off to see the footy. Not really interested. You haven't given us a footy score, actually. What's the update in the footy score? It's probably going to be Melbourne all the way. They seem to have done pretty well all through the year. And so whatever questions you've got, just hit them at me. Too soon for you. Sorry, I'll put this up. So too soon for you. No, I miss you guys. I do miss going to Morak and catching up with you all. It was really nice to get to Lang Lang today and just see a golf course again. Saw a few kangaroos too, so that was good. I don't think they've missed humans too much. And the other thing is, do you like the format? If you've been watching any of the live streams, because I think they're a bit of fun, and I really like this program that I'm using to run it. I tried a few years ago and it just didn't work, but this is a really good format, and I think it's probably better when I have a guest as well. And the thing I found out is I can actually download the audio of this and I can turn it into a podcast. So I might even resurrect the podcast. So, Peter, I have a question. Golf grip replacement, how often and what with? Okay, that's a really good question. So, people don't usually look after their grips very well. And what I mean by that is they use them, but that's it. They just keep using them, and eventually the grips get shiny and you can't grip them anymore. So at that point, most people think, oh, gee, this is a problem. I better go into the shop and get it re-gripped. So in getting them re-gripped, you're going to be paying $15, $20 a club. But really, you don't need to do that. You need to get some sandpaper. So usually, 120, 240 grit sandpaper, and you just rub over the grip. Now, as long as it's a rubber grip, it's fine. Don't do it with leather and don't do it with the wrap feel grips. But just generally, you just go over it with sandpaper, protect the shaft with your thumb. In fact, I'll reach over here. I've got a club. This is an old putter. This grip's totally had it. But imagine that this was your 7-iron. So just protect the shaft with your hand and you just get a bit of sandpaper and rub it all, and you get rid of all of that and then wash it with warm water, soap and a scrubbing brush. And if you do that, you're going to prolong the life of the grip a lot. So I would be washing my grips every month, given the amount that you play, Peter. And I'd probably sandpaper them every 6 months, and you should be able to get 4 or 5 years comfortably out of the life of the grip. If you go through that and they're just beyond it and they're really, really slippery. In fact, I've probably got one. Bear with me. This is very unprofessional. But I've actually got I bought some clubs while we've been in lockdown, and you probably can't see it, but these grips were notoriously bad. They were what came on most of the clubs, the old grip right, but that is really, really shiny, and the UV rays have reacted with the polymers in the grip, and it's cracking. So this is totally useless. So I'm just waiting on a shipment of leather grips to come, because these are the set of golf clubs that I used to use when I played golf for a living. And it's a set of McGregor Colorchroms. So they've got copper faces. So I loved these golf clubs. Sorry if you're listening, Mizuno. I love my current clubs, my new JPX 921 forged. Wonderful. But these little babies are very dear to my heart as well. So they're beautiful clubs. So, yeah. So wash them regularly, sandpaper them twice a year, and you'll get a lot of extra life. So it's important that if you think they're beyond it, go into the shop and have a look at in the back right-hand section of the golf shop at Morak. You'll see all the grips on display. Or if I'm around, we can have a chat about it when we get back to it. So I hope that sort of helps you with that question. I've missed a few questions along the way here. So talk quietly, Brian, or my missus will moan that I talk into an Australian again. Yeah, it's that bloody Aussie again. Anthony, thank you. Interesting. In the 1993 British Open, followed Wayne Grady, who shot 64. Yes, best day ever. I would love to go to the British Open. It's one of those things that when we do get some sort of normality back, I will be taking a group of people to the British Open one year when I can organise it. So I'm getting very much into the tour groups, but it'll be, yes, we'll watch some of the British Open. We're going to play some golf at some courses. And the thing about my tour groups, when I take tours away, I play with everyone. So that's an important thing. So I do look forward to that day. I'm very jealous of you, Anthony. Where are we? Oh, get rid of that. Thank you. The only problem with that core is everyone sees it on this. So what I might do, I can't really do it. Yeah, okay, thank you. Email's always better. Core's given us the footy score. So Melbourne are fairly well up. So what are we? Probably about half time or into the third quarter by now. Thank you for that update. Here we go. Aussies and their sandpaper. Very good, Addy. Yeah, we love sandpaper. We've always got sandpaper in our pockets. Good with cricket balls and even better with golf clubs. It's very quick. I'm very impressed with that one, Addy. Very, very well done. Oh, here we go. Here's Kate Bates. I know Kate. Kate is the girlfriend of my son. So how are you, Kate? Say hello to the whole family there for me. Hope you're doing well. I look forward. One of the things I look forward to most is giving you all a hug when we can. So thank you for dropping by. Peter, harsh Addy. Yeah. Keep us in mind for the tour, Anthony. Yeah, absolutely. You're on my mailing list, so everything I do is always put into my mailing list. So if you get my weekly newsletter, it comes out 9 o'clock Melbourne time every Monday. If you don't get that, just go onto the website and subscribe. So if you're not subscribed, as soon as you go onto the website, a little pop-up form should occur. If you have any trouble, just let me know. Send me a message in Coach Now if you need to, and I'll pop you on the list. Then we've got David. David and Core know each other from my mental training course that I did last year. We did 2 actually, so they were good fun. They were on Zoom. A lot of fun. So, Core. Love YouTube. Next quiz, more multiple choice. Well, I think if I do another one, and maybe we should put a bit of a vote up, but if I do another one, there's a program called Kahoot, which I only just discovered yesterday, but I didn't have enough time to transfer this to Kahoot. But everyone downloads an app, and I think it'll probably work quite well. So I don't know, is it worth doing another one of these at some point? So let me know in the comments. That would be nice to know. I'm open to doing anything. It's not like we've got much to do. You can all see this. Everyone's very impressed with Addy's comment there. Oh, okay. Excuse me. Yeah, David's driving the tour bus when we come over. I reckon there's so many people that are following me over in England that I could run like a road trip going to different places and running clinics along the way. I don't know the ethics of that. I don't know how to arrange that, but it could be a possibility one day. So I'd love to get over there. I better have another drink. Excuse me. Okay, so that pretty much, I think, is going to see us out. So thank you very much for joining, and we've managed to pass nearly an hour and a half of time together. It's been a lot of fun, so I look forward to catching up with you all. I do hope to do more of these live streams, and I'll always try and have some interesting guests. Sometimes it'll be just me, but I really value you turning up, and it's good to have the interaction. So look after yourselves, stay well, and we've got a late one here. Here we go. Robert, thanks from the US. Love your tips. Thank you, Robert. Gee, it must be early in the morning there. So yeah, that's I appreciate you coming on board. And one of the best things about doing YouTube is finding out when people start commenting where they're from. It's one of the best parts of a Monday. And we've got one from Corey. Oh, the whole family loved it, Brian. Thank you. Thank you, Fiona. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Corey. Great to sort of talk to you. Not that you're talking back to me, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah. And Cor says he'd like to. Glad you enjoyed it, Peter. And we better include Scotland. Thank you very much. Look after yourselves. Stay well. And I'll look forward to seeing you sometime real soon. Thanks for joining me.